Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 5, Episode 3 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, where we're going to go and talk about Old Nebercracker, a beer I made. And this should be coming out on April 18th, 2022. Now let's just get into it. Ricky's already been smelling and drinking the beer.
Yeah, it's got a really good aroma. I mean, it smells like the holidays, like a little bit of that fruit cake and rum and, kind of the things you get out of that eggnog. If you ever think of I don't know if anyone else's family ever did it, but my family, every time we go over to visit one of my uncles, he would set out these like bowls of, eggnog that he made himself and all these little like Christmas cookies and, fruit cakes and stuff like that. And it smells like that room, that little chunk of his house that was kind of set up for the holidays.
So this is also 7% ABV. It's not a high ABV beer, but it's kind of higher for a beer. Mm-hmm. It is a holiday spiced ale. It was something that I found a company it's the same company that made the Thunder Cookie beer that we'll talk about a little bit later on. So I made a couple of different beers over Christmas. I made this one. I made the one that I made last year, which was the Holiday Spice Ale from Brewer's Best. And then I made the Thunder Cookie Gingerbread Stout. Mm-hmm. And I don't know which one I like the best out of the three.
Yeah, I mean, overall flavor is not bad at all. A little bit sweet, got a lot of spice to it. And unlike some of the stuff we drank earlier in last episode, this one, while on the tongue you don't get the individual spices as much, you do in kind of the after flavor. Mm-hmm. Especially now on the podcast, I'm talking afterwards, that kind of lingers around for a while.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's really good. I mean, this is also, I know some people with their holiday ales like to heat them up and serve them a little warm. I think this would probably work really well with that too.
Yeah.
I think the warmer that this gets, the more it's going to open up.
Yeah. It does. I like it cold. Mm-hmm. Just because it does it's hard to explain the difference between the warm and the cold version of this, but the warm version of this is a little bit more like orangey. Yeah. And this is a little bit more malty, I guess. So I like this as a sipping beer more cold.
Yeah, I could see this. It has that kind of like citrus rind, citrus pith sort of flavor to it that's really muted when it's cold, but I could see if you heat this up that would really come out.
Yeah. And it's good if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for like a warm, kind of beer. I feel like it's just, this is where it shines the most after having it both ways. Yeah. And I'm definitely making this one again, just like it is. I think it's a 10 out of 10. Can't really improve on it so much, more than what it is. It is the perfect holiday spice ale. As a matter of fact, it might become my regular recipe for holiday spice ale instead of the other one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not bad. I was telling you, Joe, earlier that me and my wife had a bar we've been going to a few times, get pub food and a couple drinks. And the first time I went there, because they don't really have a menu with any drinks on it, I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I'm not just going to ask some random person for a random cocktail that I don't know if they have, because I'm socially awkward when I meet new people. So they've got some taps. There's all these new things I haven't tried. I looked over and I tried 2 or 3, different commercial beers. And this is better than any of those 3. I really struggled to get any of those glasses down. So, as much as we can come in here as people who drink a lot and brew a lot and say, oh, it could be a little bit more open on the back end or something like that. I mean, it's still better than most commercial beers you're going to grab.
I agree. I mean, there's tons of commercial beers that I love to, drink. So it's not like I'm saying I'm brewing better than that. And this was a kit, so I'm not the person who made the recipe or anything like that. But this is just so good. And between the 3 beers that I made over Christmas, I made a whole bunch, but the 3 that I specifically targeted for the holiday season, this is the perfect expression of a holiday ale. I think it's the ales and stouts, they're in a pyramid of good things, but they're on different sides of it, or maybe even in a box. I don't know, but they're on different sides of whatever shape that is. So I'm not saying it's better than the stout that I made. I am saying that I probably prefer this one to the holiday spice ale that we made, which that one is good, but it's not as good as, you know, some of the things that I've made since then or afterwards, not as good as some of the pie mints and wines and things like that I've made. So yeah. So if you are able to get your hands on Old Nebercracker, and I don't remember the shop that makes it, but they're on the East Coast. I think they're up towards the like Maine, Massachusetts area. I'm not 100% sure, but they distribute through Amazon, but they also have their own website and like a couple other things like that, and it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it is really.
So I think I've shown you this. Have I shown you the Miyoo Mini? Maybe it's it's a retro handheld. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I showed it to you a couple.
So.
Yeah, it's a little like Game Boy, but it's about this big. I did not bring it over here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to let you talk for a second. I'm going to get up, walk over there and get it, and then I'm going to hand it to you, and you can mess around with it while I kind of explain what it is. So maybe...
That'll be fun for the sound effects.
Yeah, maybe talk about like the beer a little bit more, or the beers that we've been brewing, or kombucha. Like talk about any of that stuff. Just don't spoil the kombucha episode.
Sure, I won't spoil the kombucha episode. I will say... I'm probably going to say some of this beer. I know you said that you like it cold more than hot, but the more I drink this, the more I think, you know what this would really go well with? Like a slice of citrus fruit. You know, you drinking a couple beers with me before, you know that I kind of like that slice of orange and things like wheat ales and stuff like that. So I'm wondering how much I will like having a little bit more of that citrus flavor in there. So I might... Is it sacrilege to say I will microwave something?
No, it's not. It's not sacrilege. I don't know. We would want to let it warm up a little bit before we did that, though. I think.
Yeah, I might just leave it alone because we're doing some stuff in like half an hour. See what it's tasting like then.
Yeah, and we could always talk about it a little bit later. So the Miyoo Mini is like, you know, one of those like, it's a retro handheld ARM chip that's on a board and you know, all that stuff, but I haven't charged it in about a week. So it's got a fairly decent battery life to it. It'll play anything up to about, I think, PlayStation games. And I haven't got them to successfully work on it. So I'm not sure that what little trick you have to do to get them to work on it. I know you have to put the BIOS on there and everything, but I haven't done something quite right on it yet. But really what I want it to do is be able to play like old JRPGs and things like that you don't really get to play too often in any other capacity. And, you know, you can carry them around on an Android phone, but I like having the analog sticks, or not the sticks, the analog like buttons. I mean, they're dome buttons, so it's not like they're like switches or something like that, or buckling springs or anything like that, right? They're like a old NES controller in a Game Boy form factor, and it's got, you know, R1, R2 buttons, so it can play like, you know, SNES games pretty well, and I love it. It's offline, so again, there's nothing that's gonna like interrupt me when I'm trying to play it. I can just pull it out of my pocket, play it for a few minutes while we're on like a trip somewhere. If we're going down to the grocery store and I just want to do something while I'm waiting on something, pull it out, play it for a few seconds, drop it back in my pocket. The only thing that I am a little disappointed between like the Miyoo and, you know, having an iPod and everything like that is they're so small factor. I can put them all in my giant pockets because I'm a, you know, fairly large person, but they're not like something that, you know, all fits all the time. Yeah. But you know, a phone, a Miyoo, an iPod, and a set of headphones, and I'm pretty good for like a week, you know, basically. But yeah, I mean, I love this thing. You throw your own SD card in there. I've got Onion OS on there right now, which is different than the operating system that the Miyoo comes with. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just a really fun little handheld to bring around and play with.
It's real cool. I'm getting through the first little bit of A Link to the Past. Love that game.
Yeah. A Link to the Past was one of my favorite, classic games. I got that when it came out brand new. Like I was like, I'm going to get this game. I never owned the original Legend of Zelda. I've played it many times, but I didn't get that. I had Super Mario on my NES and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so when Link to the Past came out, I was like, I am getting this game. This game is going to be awesome, and I'm going to love it. And I did. I thought it was great. So, but yeah. So
talk to me a little bit about how you get the games on there.
You just put them in a folder on the SD card. You put the SD card in your computer, drop your ROM in there. You can, I own a whole bunch of these games, so you can, create the ROMs yourself. Or if you know where you can get ROMs, you go and get them, depending on whatever the thing is. Not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal, but you take those ROMs and then you put them in a folder, and they have to be in a certain format. And you then kind of go from there. So as long as they're the right format and they're not corrupted, a file, it'll read it, and it'll play the appropriate emulator on it, because it uses I think RetroArch on the back end to be able to pull in all the different emulators that you need to make this work.
I'll say this, we talk about this would be really good for, you as an adult, I'll play games from your childhood. In this form factor, because it's kind of small, I'm really thinking do I want to grab something like this, put a couple games like Pokemon and other things like that? This would fit perfect in a small kid's hands.
Yep.
So if you wanted something for your 4, 5, 6, and that probably up to 8, 10 sort of age range, a little portable console for them, because you don't want to get them a Switch, or a lot of those games are so large and flashy.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely, it's easy to get the things and put them on there. It is definitely a thing that you could do to get them, something like this. I'm not sure. There's another one that I had that was what was the name of it? It was Retro Pie. No. So I have 4 or 5 of these things, right? And I let a couple kids, because I'm a foster parent, let a couple kids have them and use them while we were on a trip. And one of the kids pocketed it, took it outside, hid it. So while that was only $100, this is around the same price range. By the time you're into it, you're in $150, $160, because you got to buy an SD card if you want to get more, stuff on it. It comes with, I think, 8 gig, which is plenty to put games
for retro
on.
games.
Yeah,
like that,
I put a bigger one on there because I wanted to put some, I think I put a 256 gig in this one, but I wanted to put some PlayStation games on there and be able to play a few older PlayStation titles. But that said, kids destroy stuff. So as long as you're not expecting them to if I bought one, I'd buy 2 or 3.
Yeah. I was less thinking about the price point and more games today. I've noticed, even ones made for kids, are either so easy they're kind of boring, they don't really capture the kids, or they're just a little bit too complex as gaming has evolved. There's not too many good, boom, here's a top down, there's only 2 buttons that really do stuff sort of game.
Yeah.
So we've had a hard time getting Delilah, our daughter, she's going to be turned 5 in a couple months, into games, because she likes to play games, but you can't really do it.
Right.
Not in any way that is enjoyable for her. So something like that, especially as she's going to be starting to learn reading skills fairly soon.
Yeah.
A simple Pokemon game where I'm just kind of clicking these buttons and you're walking around and you're seeing cute little creatures. She loves to watch me play Pokemon, but when it's now 3D and you gotta actually aim stuff, she doesn't have really, for her size, the controllers don't fit her in a way that she can do that. So, something like this, that's that nice, small little handheld. I mean, that's what my generation, granted we were a little bit older than 5 when we were playing on them, but like that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're a big hit with kids, and you can play something like simpler games like 1942 where they just have to kind of like dodge stuff and shoot things. They're hard games, so they'll die a lot, but what do they care? They're having a blast.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I never cared when I was in arcade, didn't make it past the first level.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. It is a perfect game console for kids. I also think that it's a very pocketable console that you can just slide into your pocket and carry with you. So from that standpoint, it's not something that I would sit there and play for hours, even though, like there's a couple of like old JRPGs that I've gone back and I've started playing. What was the one that I was playing the other day? I don't remember. Anyways, I was playing one. I just sat there and just played it up until I got to a certain point where you have to just grind, and then I just kind of was like, whatever. I'll come back to it later, which I do. Like I'll grind a couple of monsters every like 5. But that's the beauty of this because it's got autosave states. You don't have to go to like a thing. You can just hit the button combo. It saves it, and you can pick it back up like in 15, 20 minutes, an hour, a day, whatever you feel like you want to do. So like I'm really happy with this. And I think it's powerful enough to play like Renpai games and stuff like that. So there are probably some modern games that you could play on it too. Yeah. So I teased this last time. I switched from Windows to Mac at work. I got an M1. I got an M1 MacBook Pro. Work provided it for me as a replacement for my older laptop. And I even got an SD card, a 1 terabyte SD card, and I put it in there. And now I have 1.5 terabytes of space on this thing. And I've been putting it through its paces, seeing what sort of engineering work I can do, what scripts I can run on it. It handles all that stuff pretty fine. I would like to have more memory because it's only got 16 gigs, I think, of unified memory on it. But, yeah, I've been running it. And it's been pretty good. Now, this is not the only time we're going to talk about this, but just my initial impressions. So before I start talking about it, what do you think the experience is going to be like? Because I've kind of hinted at it. I've said a few things. I've shown you a few things. What do you think so far?
In all honesty, I expect your overall experience for the amount of time you've had it is probably going to be fairly good. I've always stood by that I think Apple does make good machines. They're just not price pointed correctly. They're a little expensive for what you get. And depending on what type of power user you are, it can have problems. So I know as like a network engineer, it doesn't always fit as well. But the opposite is for like a software engineer. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to using Unix over Windows when you're doing software development. I've considered a couple times doing that same switch just for that reason. So that everything I program on Windows, when I move it over to Linux, I don't have to go, okay. Now, anything that operates with the OS, I need to go and make sure that it actually still works.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, things that don't quite match up. A big one, is network people. I've got a lot of scripts that try and ping a device to see if it's online when generating a report. You get, I think, you get a binary value. I guess it's not really a binary value because you can't get 2 during like errors. Right. But basically like 1 and 2 are successful. 0, not successful. That flips when you move to Linux. So like that code has to like go in and go, okay, change those values around or make the script aware if it knows which OS it's on, stuff like that. So yeah, there's advantages depending on where you are. But maybe that's a long-winded answer to say after 2 weeks, I don't think you've had a long enough time to run into any major issues.
Well, you'd be wrong.
Oh, no.
I've had some pretty major issues with it, but I've been able to overcome for my workflow. So my workflow is that I have 3 monitors that sit around me. And famously, Macs don't work with 3 monitors. They only work with 2.
Yeah.
And the M1 Mac, even though it says it will run 3 monitors at a certain thing, because of the way that it's set up, it doesn't actually run 3 monitors. It only can output to 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you have to have like a multiplexer, like a muxer, to be able to do the other one. So you have to have some sort of USB thing.
Yeah.
I don't have that. So my 3rd monitor is just kind of sitting there on my desk, but I've got my 2 ones that are sitting there. So that's my first problem. The second problem, Well, and I'm going to try to overcome that by getting an ultra widescreen if work will buy it for me. And I'm going to put that on my desk, and that is going to be my one monitor, and then my other monitor will be the third monitor. We'll see how that works out. I don't even know that the Mac can hold the resolution that I'm buying for it, so, but I'm hoping for it. I'm hedging my bets by getting a lower resolution, higher refresh rate monitor, and hopefully that'll work out good. So I think it's a 1440p monitor versus like a 4K.
Okay,
So it plays games. Well, there's a couple of AAA games that, while they have to be M1 compatible, I've been able to play through like Steam and stuff like that, which, I mean, that's not a productivity thing, but just from a graphic standpoint, it can actually like play like Tomb Raider and things like that. Those are translated to the M1 chip. A couple of games like Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm actually interested in, being able to like play portably, looking more for like a Steam Deck sort of thing. But knowing that I have a laptop now, that if I'm going on a trip or I need to go someplace and I've got this thing with me, it's got the graphics power to be able to do something like that. That's pretty great. And it seems to run it fairly well off of an SD card. It's not too bad. It takes a little while to load up because the SD card is pretty slow on the Mac for some reason. So, yeah. So it's been pretty powerful from that standpoint. I think the only other thing that I've had a really major issue with is getting input into it. I use like a Logitech keyboard, and I'm very particular about the things that I have. I'm not, it's a mechanical keyboard, but it lets me do all this stuff. And just being able to like have the right key combos to be able to like move between the screens and everything like that, that's kind of esoteric and not very easy. So I've had issues with it with my workflow, but overall, it is a more powerful machine than the last one that I had.
Okay, well, that's good.
So the last thing that we were going to talk about is gaming on a Chromebook, but I think I'm going to save that for next time.
Okay.
Because we're kind of running out of time. We got to go. It's about time for D&D, and the dog is restless. He wants food and things like that, and so we got to go set up for that. So I think we're gonna cut that out, and we're gonna put that on the next one. But did you have anything else you want to say about the MacBook?
No, I'm good. I'm glad it's working out. I'll be watching your progress with it. I might make the switch whenever my next refresh comes up too.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be my suggestion to people, especially given that the Lenovo's are kind of.
Yeah, I wasn't super happy with my last upgrade. It was really almost. I mean, I didn't notice any difference switching to a laptop that was 3 years newer.
Yeah, exactly. The Lenovo's have not been. My last two have not impressed me a whole lot. Now, my T450, 480, T480 was awesome. But my P series Lenovo's, I had like two P51s or a P51 and a P52. I've not been happy with at all. Well, that said, this has been episode 5, season 5, episode 3. Sorry, not episode 5, season 3. This has been season 5, episode 3 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. We have a Twitter, a YouTube, as I mentioned last episode, and a Patreon. And so you can engage with us in any of those places. That's all down in the notes. Except I think you just look for us at Beer and Broadband on YouTube. I don't know if I put that in the notes, but enough rambling. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.